America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll do the roll call of members present. Michael Croto, Chair.
Kate Stevens, Vice Chair.
Ron Stevens, member.
Kimberly Queenan, Selectman's Rep.
Sam Terrell, member.
James Buffetti, member.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome Jamin Carr from NRPC, our circuit rider, Joan McKibben, our town planning administrator, and Lou Caron, our town engineer. Welcome. Before we begin, we'll do public input on non-agenda items not on the agenda for this evening. Does anybody have anything that they want to comment under non-agenda items for this evening? Okay, seeing none, I will close public input on non-agenda items. And we will go to number 1 on the agenda this evening, which is a site plan proposed by Thoreau Development LLC at 522 Charles Bancroft Highway, tax map 22 lot 11. The proposal in the northern commercial zone is to include a 5,500 square foot gas convenience store, including a drive-through lane set behind. Fuel dispensers in front and on the south side of the site. The back westerly of the 15.3 acre lot will include 9 self-storage units totaling 22,900 square feet. This project is continued from December 6, 2022 and January 3rd, 2023 meetings. If the aforementioned application is accepted, notice is hereby extended to application approval, consideration, and/or continuations to a date certain as required. Is the applicant present this evening?
Yeah.
Why don't you come forward, sir, and introduce yourself to the board?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good evening. My name is Jim Petropoulos, civil engineer with Hayner Swanson Inc., doing business at 3 Congress Street, New Hampshire. Representing Thoreau Development with me tonight is Sylvain Thoreau, one of the partners in the development. We brought some folks with us tonight. Jonathan Halley is with us from Warren Street Architects. Peter March is with us from New Hampshire Signs. And Hussein Sevengill is with us from GPI. Mr. Chairman, as you know, this is our second public hearing. We met on December 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, we presented the project in its full glory. We went through many of the elements of the project and of the application. We answered a number of questions that evening, and we also took some good notes. Since then, if I may recap, on December 8th, as requested by this planning board, we filed an application for 2 conditional use permits for the project to allow gasoline sales in a fast food restaurant with drive-through. On December 11th, Mr. Chair, we had a cold site walk with several members of the planning board. We reviewed the locations of the building. We had staked some of the corners to try to give us a sense of where we were when we were out on the property. You may have seen them driving by. We left those stakes there. I don't know if you've had a chance to take a peek at them. And as well as the project with its relation to its abutting sites. On January 16th, we made a resubmittal to Joan and her team and to Lou and to NRPC in an attempt to address their first round of peer review comments. And so that is back in the process. I chatted with Lou momentarily before this evening's presentation, and we're down to about 5 comments, and I'm confident in saying that they're easily addressed, and we appreciate Lou's review. The purpose of tonight's hearing, as requested at the last planning board member, was to really focus on the visual elements, Mr. Chairman, of the project. Landscaping, architecture, signage, and lighting. We hope to do that in a series of presentations. We'll have several presenters come up and speak to their really field of expertise. And of course, we're here to answer any questions you or the public might have. So we appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to start talking a little bit about landscaping and buffering because the landscape consultant for the project, Blackwater Design, was a sub-consultant to our team. And in our site plan set, we did provide a landscape plan for the project. Jay, I think if you scroll down, there you go, thank you. The plan, focused really on the front part of the site because the self-storage unit, as you could tell from the site walk, was kind of tucked into the back and was surrounded by a lot of the natural vegetation. The focus was to somewhat highlight the front entrance drive, the pylon sign, with supporting landscaping, as well as the northerly property line. During our site inspections with the Conservation Commission, because they own that property there, they had concern about that northerly property line. There is some existing vegetation there. Jay, if you flip down actually to a couple pictures we got from the interweb. I'm sorry, no, you got to go back to the menu. Yeah, view looking north, view looking south. So that's looking north at the site, and there's that little clump and cluster of vegetation. That is a berm of dirt first that's grown up first. That will be part of our development. But we're going to do our best along that common property line to save existing vegetation. And the next look gives us a view looking south, and you just get a different angle at that. Thank you. There's the parking lot for the conservation land. One of the items that the plan includes is arborvitae's over in that location to give it some lower story protection. We also committed to the Conservation Commission that, as the project nears its completion, if we're successful in constructing this, that we take a look at it and look and see where additional plantings could be supplemented to enhance that buffer. It's always difficult at this stage early on to kind of see what's remaining and what can be protected. But I believe we had that discussion, and our client is certainly willing to do so. Again, as I mentioned a moment ago, you may recall, Jay, I'm sorry if we go back to the colored rendered display plan. And then the balance of the project is really well treed and well buffered. Along Leech Brook, along that property line, there's a pretty significant wooded buffer to remain, 90 to 100 feet of trees. And then along the back edge, that whole area will be protected with natural vegetation. The main body of the site you can see is well set back from the conservation land. With regard to some buffering, a couple questions came up at the site walk. How far is our back property line to the river? That small little segment of property line back there is about 600 feet from the Merrimack River. The closest self-storage unit to St. Francis of Assisi Church is 450 feet. And then in that location, those units are about 250 feet to the property line to the north, right in the middle of the site, to the conservation land. So I wanted to present that information to you. Before I turn it over to the next speaker, I wanted to clear up a couple things after the December meeting relative to the aesthetics piece of it. There were some questions about the self-storage, and I want the record to be clear, then I think I gave it to you. The self-storage will remain the same hours as the gas C-store, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. It will not be open and accessible 24 hours a day. It will remain a card pass gated element. Lighting will be turned off in the back during non-business hours in the self-storage area. And we do owe you a look-see at the elevations of those units. We will bring them into our next meeting. They're the type of units that I think you're very comfortable with, but I think you've asked us, hey, can we please stay with some natural colors, some neutrals, and not pop in the bright orange or the bright blue. And Renee and Sylvain are totally comfortable with that. So we'll show you that next time we're here. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan Halley. Jonathan is with Warren Street Architects, the project architect, and we did prepare some perspectives to try to give you a feel for the look of the facility on Charles Bancroft as well as different angles. And Jonathan's going to come up and walk you through those. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I'm gonna save your neck.
Thank you very much.
So, these are all the same that are up on the board. I don't know if I've got enough to go everywhere, but. Thank you.
Oh, you have extra? Yes, you may.
So, if I may, I just want to walk you through the architecture itself. The photograph on the front is, actually, if we take that back to the site plan, and I can just point out as I walk through these where the perspectives are taken from, so you can, front of the store, this is this elevation across here. They've contemplated naming this the Litchfield Country Store. You'll see it. Asphalt shingle roof, composite trim. We're talking about a board and batten to sort of bring in that agricultural piece. And then a cultured stone across the bottom, a field stone. Black or bronze frames, something that would be consistent with, that you would see throughout New Hampshire and New England. I've tried to render this. I'm going to let Peter from New Hampshire Signs talk a little bit about the mobile branding, but I'm just trying to give you some perspective as you flip through these. What we're showing right now is the brand, the mobile brand, that they require of the vendor, grows in terms of offering this product. It is a flat canopy. I actually drove by, I think there's an Irving further down the road, not further, but it has exactly the pumps, if you will. These pumps, I think the canopy is a little bit different. And they'll talk a little bit more about the signage. So that comes directly out of the branding that comes from mobile. That's what they're looking for, and that's what they're mandating. That's not to say that you don't have criticisms of it and want to talk about it, but that's the starting point. So the building that I'm doing for them is, sets to the background of those. So what I've tried to do is we created a model to give you some perspective as you flip through here, the views that you would get looking from the front of the site, driving by. You'll see a couple that are dashboard kind of photographs to give you some idea of, again, what you're looking at as you drive by the road. There are two pump stations, if you will, two canopies. One is diesel, one is regular gas. So the diesel's further in the back here. We've incorporated a little cupola on top of the building. And I think it's pretty consistent with the architecture that you'll see. There's a couple of three-dimensional drawings here that kind of show you the entire site build-out as you walk through. The larger trucks are expected, as you know, to drive around and then come back. We've consolidated the entrance to a single entrance. I'll take any questions you might have, and then I'll turn it over to Bob and Peter.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go
So,
ahead, James.
the lighting under those flat canopies, what was that? What would that be like?
It would be LED, and it would be either surface mounted or recessed like a can fixture.
Okay.
So
So,
it's all downlight, there's no
Right.
night sky.
so, comparing it to the Irving Station on Poundstone Drive, is it,
I don't know it.
Yeah,
okay.
it's Roundstone.
it's, I wonder if the lighting, I know that, that one of the board members at a prior meeting had a picture of a gas station in Manchester?
It was Manchester. Basically, my concern was every new mobile station that I've seen, there's one in Hudson, or that have updated pumps, there's one in Hudson, there's one on South Willow Street in Manchester, it is lit up like daytime, even in the dark of night. And one of the things that we consistently try to work with on the planning board is, first of all, having warm lighting so that it's not a very harsh cold light, and then just preserving, the night sky and
So
not
there is
having
no
a lot
night
of
sky
lighting.
issue here. This is all downlit, and all the lights throughout the site that are pole lights have cutoffs on them. So there is a photometric plan in the civil set that shows there's no, I think it's 0.2 candles, 0.2 foot candles that can't cross the property line. So we meet the requirements of the standard in terms of light escaping beyond the
The
site.
property line.
Yeah. I'm sure that Rose will talk to you about whether or not you want a cool light. So LED, you can get it in 3, 4, 5 thousand Kelvin light levels. And the higher you get, the closer you are to natural light, and it gets really sort of a stark white.
Right, like
Versus-
our signs are 3,000 Kelvin or warmer
Yeah.
for lit signs.
So I think the only issue, and I don't wanna speak for Sylvain, but I think there's a safety issue in terms of it being lit enough so that the pumps are covered, and that's part of that, I believe, the branding conversation with mobile. But I think whether it's more of a yellow light or a stark white light, I think that's open for conversation. Yeah.
And is it planned to be lit even when it's not open, those pumps?
If I may, I'm staying Southern Gill from GPI's here, he's gonna talk about lighting.
Oh, okay,
He's gonna
okay,
present,
if we're
so,
getting ahead of ourselves.
Okay,
yeah. Jonathan was
Yep.
really talking
yep,
architecture,
all right.
and if Jonathan's through, Peter March is gonna talk about signage,
So-
and then we're gonna talk lighting.
Okay, so, but, and maybe this is not your area, but the pictures that you see on the street view, is that what we would expect to see? So, like this picture, that's what this is, what the finished product will look like? There's no landscaping in front?
It's the one thing the perspectives, didn't kind of bake into the perspective was the landscaping in our plan.
Okay,
So it is, our landscaping will soften that perspective.
but it's hard to visualize that. I mean, if this is the picture,
Yeah.
so this is not an accurate depiction of how this finished project will look.
If I may, sir, I think it's using technology to try to give you the best look at it, and really right now it's lacking some landscaping around the pylon sign.
Right, so it's not accurate.
It's just lacking that, I'd say.
All right.
It's more to give a visual of what the building is gonna be looking like.
Building and signage. and-
Because, I mean, yeah, because I can understand, I mean, if you look at this, I mean, obviously, Morse Falls, you can tell this is not what it would probably look like, and realistically. It just, but I can understand what I think that's what you're basically stating, this is how the building is gonna be proposed. And
How it's cited, sometimes it's tough to look at a drawing and plan view. That kind of thing.
But, all right, so, may I continue?
Yeah.
So under the gas pumps, it sounds like that's the required branding from mobile. They don't provide options. This is what they would require for a gas station that carries their name.
Maybe I should be appointed by law.
Great.
please state your name.
Good evening, my name is Peter March, New Hampshire Signs, 66 Gold Edge Avenue, Auburn, New Hampshire. So I'll go straight to the elements under the gas canopy, the red elements. Essentially, probably 10 or 12 years ago, Mobil recognized that gas canopies and gas stations in general are some of the more dangerous places that people can be. There's high rate of accidents. They're almost unique in that people enter a gas station, very fixated on a dispenser, and are there for a very short duration before they move on. So Mobile introduced a program called Synergy, and the red elements you see in the picture relate to Synergy. And the goal, it's a suggestive goal, it's not mandatory, is to get people to enter and exit a gas station in a particular way. So you don't have to enter the way that waves indicate, but it certainly is a strong indication that people should enter that way. So Mobile calls them essentially a safety element. Do you have to have them? No, you don't. You don't have to have all of them. You can have some of them, but not all of them. But they encourage people to enter that gas station in a particular way. If you look at a lot of the other brands where they don't have that, you'll see people driving in from either end, and that creates an unnecessary hazard. So there are essentially three elements on a gas canopy from Mobile. One is the wave, which is the red candy cane that you can see in that rendering. Again, that tells people to come in from the roadside and head towards the building. You have what is called a blade on the other side of the canopy. And that's just another red suggestive element that suggests people drive out that way. You have a koala, which is an element that hugs the pole that contains safety information. And then the fourth element, I said there were three, but in fact there are four, is a little pump number, which is required by code. So they're all red, and the reason they're red is so that they're more visible to motorists. As I say, the issue that Mobile is trying to resolve with this is to direct people, suggest people enter and exit a gas station in a particular way.
Right, but I was more concerned about the canopy itself.
Yep.
It's a flat metal canopy. Are there options for the design of that would be consistent with what Mobile would require, that would be perhaps more subtle or more consistent with the architecture of the store?
There are certainly options like that. I mean, one could do a pitch roof, or you could do a white canopy. I think the reason, one of the overriding reasons to make it blue is that it continues the Mobile theme. It's a global theme, so Mobile canopies all over the world, 99% of them are that color, and it tends to promote that brand to people. So it's a strong brand element.
Sure.
It's not to say that you absolutely have to have it, but it's it's an extremely common element that is available and visible literally all over the world.
Right. Oh, I get that. That's what branding is all about, right? My question is, how do you consider the factor of the design of the building fitting in to Litchfield, that part of Litchfield? I mean, you could put any kind of branded store that you probably wouldn't necessarily see as fitting in to the architecture and the design of that section of 3A. So I get why Mobile wants to do it. I'm just wondering why we couldn't, I mean, because we've talked about this, quite a bit in our previous reviews, why we couldn't have a design that was more consistent with the town and that fit in better with the town, and that was closer in design to the design of the store, which looks much better to me. But those canopies don't seem to fit in at all. If you drive down that part of 3A, and I envision this there with these big canopies with all of the Mobiles, red and the flat metal roofs and stuff, I don't see it fitting in at all.
My
Can I just want to offer this, so Sylvain's brother Renee and I did talk about that at great length, and I've done a couple of quick sketches. I didn't bring them with me as part of that conversation. The issue that we spoke about is that by putting a sloped edge, or kind of like a mansard around it to try to do that, it creates a liability. Snow, things that would stick, that would all of a sudden come off, is falling on cars and people that are walking under that canopy.
Yep.
And I couldn't personally come up with something that satisfied Renee's concerns for, yes, there's an aesthetic piece, but it creates a liability that they didn't want to take on. And so we came back to the flat roof.
Okay. I understand.
Again, it's a pretty common, 99% of all mobiles across the world, of which there are hundreds of thousands, form that. So for the average motorist, the average person driving by, I think it's a recognizable image that's not particularly jarring.
No doubt. I don't question at all what you're saying. The question is, does it belong there?
Understand?
The building does look very nice, and it does look like it fits in to Litchfield. I understand the issue with the flat roof. Is there anything that we can do that, like, does it need to be bright blue around the entire front? Is there anything we can do to tone this down so that it matches that store more?
Within the confines of the flat roof, you could certainly remove the blue band, and you could
That
keep
would be
you
it.
could keep the band as a white band,
At the very
and
least.
retain the mobile letters.
And I understand the, I understand that Mobile is trying to get motorists to pass through those pumps a
Yes.
certain way, but in reality, people are just driving in whichever side is open that their gas tank is on.
In general, it's a program that has been extremely successful in terms of getting people to drive in a particular way. You can drive in that way and serve gas tank on either side of the car. So if you come in from 3A and you drive towards the store, you can easily achieve it with a car that has a gas tank on the left or the right.
If there's a space open, or can the pumps reach? Do the
Yeah,
Are they the
pumps can-
long pumps that you
Yeah.
can reach it around the car?
Yeah, certainly. Most
Okay.
people don't do that.
Right.
Again, this is suggestive, so I think if you look at a regular Irving, you probably find 50% of people come from one way and 50% of people come from the other. I don't have the statistics, but I can tell you from experience, within a mobile site, a large percentage are following the suggestive direction that the ways and blades give them.
Okay.
And what that's doing really is it's contributing towards safety, because you're not getting cars going head on. You're not getting people that are in danger of being run over. As I say, the one thing about a gas station is unique to a gas station is people drive in, they're concentrating on where the gas, which gas pump to go to. They're not necessarily concentrating on other people that are walking around the gas canopy. And they're there for a few minutes, and then they drive off. So what this is a method of trying to funnel the traffic. You can't dictate it, and that's not an effort to dictate it, but it's certainly an effort to try and regulate it in a fashion.
Okay.
So it does suggest that a lot more people will follow that direction than would otherwise be the case.
Okay. Does Mobile have like papers on that I'd be interested to see the difference that it makes?
They don't, not as far as I'm aware, no.
So how do they know that it's making a difference safety-wise if they don't have any statistics or anything on it?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I've been told by Mobile that it makes a big difference.
I used to work for
So I
Mobile.
don't-
They have internal documents in safety and insurance.
It's not something they publish?
They
okay.
could, if you probably asked them, they probably would.
Okay.
I mean, there's a logic in a way to it that doesn't need Mobile to supply us with the actual data, which we're probably not going to get out of them.
That's fine. It was something where it was,
Yeah.
if it was readily available, I'd just be interested to
I can
read it and
I can
understand
certainly
it.
find that out, but Mobile is a giant machine that sometimes is pretty slow at getting
They do
stuff.
things right.
I beg your
They
pardon?
do things right. They pay the best people
Yes.
to do it right. They don't mess around.
The other thing you've got to remember is that this is a program that's global. It's worldwide, and it applies to Exxon and Mobil. So with all the hundreds of thousands of stations they have, if you're filling here, or if you're filling in Manchester, or filling on Cape Cod, the same elements will direct you in the same way. And it ultimately works on the psyche to get people to do what we say they're going to do.
Okay. So, so is there anything that, I would just really like to see some sort of like, even if it's a small angle off of the side roof, so it's not a rectangle, then that would not create a huge amount of snow, like it's not a full angled roof where all of that snow might fall onto the hood of a car that's parked under there. Even a small little overhang to try to just make these pumps fit in a little more seamlessly with the building and with the surrounding area, and toning down the mobile colors as much as possible.
I'm going to have to defer to the architect. I'm just a sign guy.
Yeah, and I did see that the sign is back to, it's all amber lights,
Yes, correct.
which we
I
appreciate.
can. Would you like me to do? Would you like me
I
to?
did notice that.
Would you like me to give you a description of that, and then we can get back to the building? The easy one is the building. The building is so we're within the required, well within the required square footage of the building. Litchfield Country Store is what it currently says. They're individual channel letters. What we're intending to do on that is to do a day-night finish on the surface of the letters. Essentially, they'll look black during the day, and when they're turned on, they'll look white. So I don't know if we've got a picture of that. Oh, no. Let me talk about that, seeing it's up. So this is the ID sign. It has it's a standard mobile ID sign. It's roughly 60 square feet, where I believe we're allowed 62. It has amber digits. It also has what is called a toggle, and the toggle currently is showing member, non-member. The reason for that is that dual pricing is becoming increasingly prevalent in gas stations. Cash credit, member, non-member, smart card is the one that you're familiar with Cumberland Farms. Our intention is that changes every 10 to 15 seconds, and when it changes, it'll reduce the price accordingly. So for simplicity's sake, if it's a cash credit one, you pay with a credit card, you're going to be charged $3. If you pay with cash in the store, you're going to be charged $2.90. That's increasingly important for gas stations. The reason for that is that gas margins have remained pretty well the same over time, and yet credit card prices have also remained either static or have increased. So the margins on a gallon of gas can be somewhere around 10% a lot of the time. If you use an Amex card, you're being charged 3.5% for that. So the goal is to try and encourage people to pay with cash or debit cards, and these programs are increasingly common. Studies have shown that alternating factor on the sign has absolutely no effect on traffic safety. I can quote about 5 different studies that show it has absolutely no effect on traffic study. If we weren't to do that, the alternative would be to put the additional digits on the sign, make them smaller, and instead of having 2, you'd have regular cash and regular credit, diesel cash, diesel credit. So you'd bring it up to 4. So it has the effect of reducing the light output from the sign and making it more legible. We also felt that what we should do is probably opaque it at night, and that's the right-hand picture. So what we'd do is just light the words at night, not the entire panel. That is putting an opaque surface behind the actual, behind the face of the sign. So that is really sort of what it will look like at night.
But we're not going to be charged $8.88, are we?
It's like an old watch where that's the way it comes out. Every time we pull a sign up with a price on it, we get a comment. It could be too high, too low, so we just go for the $8.88. And then
How big is this sign gonna be? I mean, I know.
it's 18 feet high, which is the required height. That's showing 20, but it's actually an 18-foot high sign. So it's within the code. So 18, we're allowed, I believe, 64 square feet if we're at 60. So a little bit less than we're allowed.
When you say required, you mean required by mobile?
No, it's a town requirement. 18 foot is the sign code. So we're at 18, and we're going to be we're allowed 64 square feet to my knowledge, and we're actually at 60.
How big is the LKQ?
It's not that high.
Short, yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's 20 feet is the maximum in the commercial district.
Oh, I beg your pardon, and we're correct on that.
Well, it's the maximum, so I guess it could be lower. But I appreciate the blackout behind the sign. I don't know that I've seen a mobile sign like that.
It's funny, I was thinking about it when I came in here. The only other sign that I think we've done is in the historic area of Moultonborough.
Okay.
Right downtown in the historic district of Moultonborough is the only other time we've done a sign like that, but it's certainly something we can easily do.
We do have an ordinance for the electronic message displays.
I know.
A static message for a period of a minimum of 20 minutes.
I believe we're probably going to have to go for variance on that.
So, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and I'm fully prepared to do that.
Okay.
I have a question. Can you refresh my memory? Where's the sign for the storage unit? Is it not gonna be on that sign? I'm getting ahead, sorry.
No, if I may, we chuckled before we came in this evening. You forgot it, simply.
Okay.
It will likely go on that sign, it will likely go within the square footage. I can't speak for mobile, but I thought I heard maybe that synergy piece then gets reworked a little bit to be a self-storage sign as well.
Yeah, we can do that. Could we
Thank
go to, maybe to the building, to the front of the building?
Just the building itself?
Yeah, I just wanted to describe the letters on the front of the building. Good, there you go. So we're hoping for illuminated letters, which we're allowed. Again, we're allowed, I think it's 35% of the frontage, so we're well under that. And we're hoping to do these day-night letters, so they look black during the day, and when they light at night, they'll light white. But it's a more subtle light, because it's almost like a tinted window, a very heavily tinted window on a car. So the light does come through, but it's definitely more subtle than it would be if it was just a straight white lens. And then maybe the canopies.
Can I make a suggestion about the canopy?
Yes.
We're talking about changing the blue and that sort of thing. The building is beige and white.
Mhm.
So if can the canopy match that? Beige and white?
That's an interesting question.
If I may, why don't you let us take that under advisement?
Sure.
And then we'll take down these comments. I think it's good, we're getting good input, and we'll regather, and next time we're here, we'll see what we came up with.
So as far as signage on the canopy, notwithstanding the look of the canopy, we're hoping for a set of mobile letters on the front of the retail gas canopy. That's about 12 square feet. And then on the diesel canopy, essentially double size that say mobile diesel. Okay, and that'll direct truck traffic to that back canopy.
And do those light up?
Yep.
I notice, I mean, you have where the drive-through is gonna go in, but is there gonna be signage for, I assume there's gonna be signage for that
Yes.
on the side of the building? Usually, you know, if it's a Dunkin' Donuts or something, you come up to a huge menu I understand, and when you do your ordering and all that stuff. I don't see that on the plan, obviously, but what is that gonna look like, I guess, is probably a
We
question.
usually consider those directional signs to be small ground signs. They may be on the order of magnitude of 2 by 2. It will direct for drive-through, and then, of course, you'll have an order station somewhere in advance of the pickup window, as you would have a typical. So there could be a couple of directional signs located in the site itself.
Are there any other questions I can answer on the signage?
No, I think that's. Does anybody else has anything?
Hussein Sevinger from GPI is going to talk about lighting, and that'll be our presentation.
Good evening. For the record, Hussein Savinchkid with Greenman Peterson, out of Salem, New Hampshire. We did have some lighting plans prepared, photometrics. These are the light details, but there are,
Near the end of the site plan set, Jay, the complete set of drawings. There you go. Thank you.
there's one. If you wanna kind of zoom in, I guess. So there was some concern with the canopy lighting under the canopies, but for the most part, the lighting was designed, there's numbers all around that plan. So the lighting was designed to limit the spillover of any of the lighting off of the property. So again, at the property lines, we're at 0 to 0.2, I believe, foot candles, which has no lighting trespass outside of the property. But on the canopy, we do have lighting levels that, you know, are brighter, to your point, under the canopy. Again, safety concerns. We don't want anything too dim under the canopy. You know, a lot of the issues at these gas stations are operator, you know, people can't drive, right? They're going to a gas station like it's their first time, and they cut the wheel or whatever, they hit a dispenser. But if you light it up, they can see better when they're driving under the canopy. So again, we have 60-foot candles. I believe under the canopy, there's a maximum of 60-foot candles. Under the retail canopy, I'm not sure if you can zoom into that at all. Again, the foot candles are shown right around the canopy, and then as you go away from the canopy, they diminish. It's probably about, I can't really see it on there, but
It'd be hard to zoom in enough to see
can't
those
see it on
numbers.
this. So. But they do diminish as you go away from the canopy. So again, the intent is to keep the light, you know, brighter than normal under the canopy, and as you go further away from the canopy, to diminish that lighting. Again, the light poles around the perimeter, they're all full cutoff. Under the canopy, there are no sag lensing. Some of the older gas stations, I'm not sure the Irving, I don't even know where the Irving is that was referred. Is it in Litchfield or is it?
No,
No,
Manchester.
It's on
I think it's
102.
in Manchester.
yeah.
Oh, it's in
The
Manchester.
one on Roundstone Drive as you go into
Just
the
before
airport.
you,
Oh, that's a newer one. Okay, we did that
Resort.
one.
Ray Resort Drive.
So that has LED. I think that was done maybe 6-7 years ago. So that has LED lighting. Probably similar, you know, similar design to this one. But again, you know, we can work with the town, but again, we can't reduce that lighting to, you know, like darker
Okay.
is what you're looking for, I believe.
Is that, will it be turned off at all?
Well,
Or-
the site lighting will be turned off, but security lighting is required
Okay.
on site, you know, after hours. So I believe the store hours are 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. So after the hours, you know, they would be turned down. But you would still need some sort of security lighting on site. But again, if it's something that the town's adamant on, we can work with our lighting vendor to maybe reduce that, but we can't really go
I think as reduced as you
As
find
reduced.
safe would be.
within safety. So 40, you know, we can reduce it by a third, bring it down to 40, and that would still be within the industry standards for safety levels under the canopy.
Okay, yep, yeah, anything you can do to keep it as low as possible,
Yep.
especially with the house right across the street.
Okay. Other than that, you know, there's not much to discuss with lighting, but
What about in the, maybe you might mention, I'm sorry, in the part of the storage area? Is there gonna be any lighting down that way in the back, or is that gonna be pretty much?
There is lighting also in the storage area. There's another sheet, I believe, that was submitted as part of the set. But, you know, those lighting levels are a lot less, considerably less than what's shown on the gas station site. But again, those are, you know, limited around the building. There's some light poles around the perimeter of the parking lot out back. Again, and I believe they did mention that they would be shut off. Again, you would still need some sort of security lighting back there.
Right.
You can't go.
But I understand there's gonna be a gate with for a security key, so you'd have to have
I believe
access
that's what
to
I
it or
heard, yeah.
something, so.
And then we would also be involved, I think, at the previous meeting, we mentioned the UST underground storage tank design. We would permit that through the DES. And we have a pretty good working relationship with them.
Okay, anybody have anything more on lighting? Jay, do you have any comments?
No, I think that it covers it pretty well. I can scroll to the full lighting plan if we do want to see what it looks like in the storage area.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, sure, if you want to do that.
Which is,
And in terms of the building for the storage units, so I guess my next question would be, what is that going to look like in terms, I know it's a neutral color, you said, but what are we looking at in terms of the building itself, structure?
Yeah, I think they're likely to be, consistent with the storage units. They're a low-profile unit. There'll be a peaked roof in the center of the unit. Some sort of exterior sheathing that will, withstand New England weather. We know there's a recently constructed one in the south part of town. I would say consistent with that look. One of the interesting things about the site walk, we were standing back there, we all asked ourselves, do you think we'll see this from the street? I think the consensus was probably not, but you never really know until it gets built. But, it is set back some 600 feet plus from the Charles Bancroft Highway. It sits down quite lower.
Because on this drawing, you can't, well, I mean, obviously you can see where the storage units are, but if you're driving, going down or coming, are you gonna actually see it? I guess is the question from.
It seemed like there would be enough between the diesel pumps and the vegetation behind the store. I think it's gonna be pretty well shielded from the road and from the river. That was my understanding.
Yeah, that's what I got my impression
I'm not seeing the lighting plan in this set.
No.
Let me look. Ah, you're right. Here it is. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and if I may, you can see the perimeter. There's a number of lights on the perimeter. They're lower lights. They're not the 25-foot high or 20 feet high. Again, cut-off luminaires, dark sky friendly, and they will be off after business hours. So that's for that 5 p.m. on a January night when somebody wants to access their unit. There should be safe lighting there.
And in terms of the storage of what's going into these units, I mean, obviously storage wise, I assume there's not gonna be hazardous materials or anything that's, or it's gonna be non-hazardous material. I assume that it's going to be put in there. I'm just curious. That's allowed, yeah, I guess. I'm just curious.
I'm not an expert, sir. I would imagine there would be a lease arrangement between, the owners and who's ever renting, and I'm sure that there's some do's and don'ts. I would think that would be a very reasonable one, that they can't store hazardous materials inside the unit.
I think we went through that with the project.
I seem to recall that, yeah.
I think it
There
was
were
a note on the plan.
limitations specified as to what could be
Right.
stored, and it was part of the agreement.
Yeah.
Certainly including hazardous materials, but I thought it was even like motorcycles, or I
Yeah, there
I
was a
don't
whole
know.
bunch of
To not run a business out of it.
restrictions or
And
something.
you couldn't run a business out of it,
Right.
and, yeah, there were some limitations, I think, that we articulated back then.
I remember that also. Well, we can dig those out and get them to you.
Thank you.
And you did mention, I remember on the sidewalk, forgive me, that you said you were gonna have to cut more trees in the back, you thought? Because I know when we looked out into that field area, there was some huge pine trees. Those were gonna be removed? Is that my understanding?
So the stormwater practice in the west part of the site that you see beyond the storage units, I think, sir, was in that location of those pines.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was the discussion for the,
I seem to recall that,
for that
yeah.
grand jury, yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Yes, I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Parking spaces in front of the building. What was discussed, if you could refresh my memory, because I see, I'm looking at the picture, I'm looking at about 8 or 9 spaces.
Correct.
That-
Correct, so if Jay were to zoom in on that plan, you'd see at the front door, it's your typical gas C-store entry, where we've blocked off space for people to conveniently get in and out of the front doors. There's a sidewalk there, there's bollards there to protect the building. We have 2 reserved parking spaces there as well. We have employee parking in the back, around the drive-through, and when they have parking on the side, on the exit coming out of the drive-through as well. So in total, there's 32 parking spaces for the facility.
So this picture is accurate then?
Except for landscaping.
And you're expecting the drive-through signs to be on the back of the building, not on the side?
We would expect something on that island as you come in, with probably a small directional sign that would say drive-through with an arrow.
Okay.
And then as you get around, it'll become obvious that that's the drive-through. There's the order station there, and then the window in the back, yeah.
Is there gonna be an air pump for the tires? I don't know if I see it, near the big truck down
Yes,
there.
we do. We have 2, I think there are 2 vacuum units right there.
Is that where the big
cursor-
truck is?
Yeah.
Is that the big truck, the picture here? Is that where it is in that area? Where is it?
It's right here, if you look at, if you can see my
that
cursor.
No, I can't. Sorry.
Right,
I didn't know if this truck was covering it. Oh, over there, okay. Thank you.
Electric cars, right?
I don't think so.
I really do prefer the look of the diesel pumps compared to the gas pumps with the big red bar there. I wanted to go back to that. Is there any way, could there just be some arrows kind of telling people to enter a certain direction instead of these big red bars?
You know, I think, as I said a moment ago, we'll certainly take that under advisement. I mean, we tried to take good notes tonight. You know, it seems the canopy and some softer lighting is something, and then the color scheme, you know, and I think Mr. Stevens' question about, you know, trying to coordinate the color scheme of the canopy to the building is something that he said, I believe, and that's really kind of what we're gonna go back and talk about.
Well, I think it really goes to, I mean, it really goes to the character and the rural character of the town. I think that's where that conversation, I think, is sort of leaning towards. To keep it. Okay, is there any more questions?
I just have one out of curiosity. Is there any plan for for electric cars to,
EV charger?
that's pretty cool.
There's one on this plan. I don't think there's one on this plan, no.
Okay.
Oh, it's not a vacuum unit, Sylvia? Oh, those are EV chargers in
EV?
that location, okay.
So with that being said, is there something there that was brought up before, the air pumps? Are there going to be air pumps?
I do seem to recall there's something about there was gonna be air pumps or there was gonna be
I thought there was gonna be the vacuum things.
vacuums, I'm sorry.
That was my memory too.
Can we think about the air pumps?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I see also where well, it looks like on here, you have where the little trail is gonna go to the conservation area.
Yes.
You have like picnic tables or something.
We're also, I meant to say, we're going to add a trash receptacle as requested. That and the amber lights were our two big concessions coming in here tonight, so.
All right, at this time, I'm actually gonna open it up to public comment. Are there any members of the public that wish to comment on this application regarding the building, what we talked about this evening, lighting, aesthetics? Okay. Not seeing anybody coming forward. All right, with that, I will close public comment on this portion and bring it back to the board. Is there any further questions, any concerns? Okay. All right, well, I guess you heard from us this evening. We have some notes, I guess, if you want to refer to, and I take the opportunity to review those. I think for the next, we are going to continue this hearing, but for the next time, I guess what the question is, what does the board want to look at? Do we want to look at the stormwater drainage? Do we want to look at traffic impacts? Where do we want to go from here? You've seen the building, you've seen with the lighting, you've seen the proposals, you've given comment. Where would you like to
I
go?
do think we need to spend some time with the traffic issues,
Okay.
given what we've already talked about, the Corning Road intersection. I just think we need to talk that through.
Okay.
And those, traffic is also, criterion on the, conditional use permits.
Right. Okay.
Can we do both the stormwater and the traffic in the same meeting?
We certainly could if that is the will of the board.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
we should be able to do that.
Okay, so I guess for next time, we'll look at the stormwater and we'll look at traffic impacts, if there's any traffic studies or anything of that nature. That'll be the time to discuss that.
And that next available meeting would be March 7th.
March 7th?
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say next steps. I would just add to it, as I mentioned, we're very close with Lou's comments, as well as close to obtaining our alteration of terrain permit, which is stormwater related. I would also, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, at the next meeting, also like to spend a little bit of time responding to some of the key questions that came up tonight.
Okay.
And so if we can cover those three things, I got a sense that we've covered kind of the big items for the case. Good.
And my understanding is that there were plans that were submitted yesterday, and I think Jay has had an
These were all the
opportunity-
visuals that we had,
visuals
yes.
that you, okay, so.
Yes.
Are you gonna need further time to go over those, or do you have a comfortable,
I think we have plenty of time between
Okay.
now and then.
okay.
We've seen most of them tonight.
Do we need to ask for an extension?
Yeah, we will be beyond the 65 days
Yeah,
for the
that's
next
the only
meeting.
thing. So the 65-day clock is running, and we would probably need an extension for that.
I'll provide a letter to you.
Okay,
I'll provide a letter to you with
so you'll provide a letter to the board.
giving you an extension of, I'll work it out with Jay, whatever number of
Okay.
days.
All right. Okay. So March 7th would be the next meeting. Planning board, stormwater, and traffic, and comment review. Okay. So with that,
He's
oh,
waiting for
hello,
you.
Lou.
I just had a question regarding the
Yeah.
DOT permit, the drive permit.
Yes.
Did you obtain that? Do you have it?
It's been applied for, but because, Lou, it's tied to physical improvements, I'm not sure what the status is, so let me check with the GPI team on that. Yep.
And I'm assuming that the drive permit will be tied into the proposed widening.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. Great.
Okay,
Thank you
perfect.
very much.
And at the next meeting also, we'll, I know that you have a waiver request, I haven't forgotten about that, about off-street parking. I think that's one of the waiver
Yeah.
requests. We'll take that up at the March 7th meeting. But I am gonna need a motion, I guess, to continue, and obviously for the extension to the next meeting. You're gonna make a motion to
extend.
continue it?
Yes.
And to allow for the extension?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second? I have a second by Kim. Do I have any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 6-0-0. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Nice job on this. Nice job.
Thank you.
This is the best. Usually,
He explains all the cars.
That's right.
I'm like, did I miss something on the agenda?
Am I intruding?
Follow up from that last meeting?
Yeah, right.
That's good. Good job.
Those were helpful renderings.
This was great.
I like that too, very much picking up that color. I think could be, and then toning down the lighting on the canopy would go a really, really long
I
way.
did something right.
The next item on the agenda is possible return of escrow account funds, El Vigno, Autumn Circle, 124 Hillcrest, Firefly Way. Joan, what's
So
up?
We're taking off 124 Hillcrest because there's final inspections need to be done. Hopefully can possibly be done this Friday, the weather's holding.
Okay.
But on the Lenny Vigent Autumn Circle is not in Litchfield, it's Hudson Road.
Okay.
And the last activity on that account was 2015, so if we could return his money.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion to return that money. How much is it?
3,992,
I'm sorry,
3,992.
992
Then there'll be interest.
with interest. Okay, I have a motion. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
All right, make a motion by Kate to return the $3,992 with
To
interest.
Mr. Vigent,
For Mr. Vidget for Autumn Circle.
right.
Do I have a second?
You want to do it? Oh, I didn't, I thought you raised your hand. I thought he raised his hand, I just saw it on the corner. I'll second it.
All right, I have a second by Kim.
How this-
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained. Motion passes 6-0-0. Okay, thank you. Committee reports. Any reports from any committees? Kim, do you have anything?
I do not have anything to report, but I do have some questions, if that's okay. Well, let me just go through the normal. Next Board of Selectmen meeting is Monday, February 13th, 6:30 here at the Town Hall. Next Capital Improvement Planning Commission is not going to be held till after elections. Voting day is March 14th, 7 to 7. We'll see you there. NRPC's quarterly meeting, what is that, March, 15th or 17th?
Well, it is, but we have a special meeting on February 15th.
Okay, but the quarterly one, is that a?
Quarterly one's
is
March 15th,
March
yes.
15th, good. I'll wait for all the reports, but I'll have a question later, Jay. Yeah.
All right. Conservation Commission met last Thursday at the,
Keeps you out of trouble.
actually here in Town Hall, as I recall.
Take care.
Nothing much to report
Bye.
there. Good night. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you for everything.
The CIP is probably not going to be meeting till after voting. Lower Merrimack Local River Advisory Committee has not met. Still waiting to hear from the chair on that. And unfortunately, I was not at the deliberative session on Saturday. I was out of state, but I heard it was good. And I guess they had the demolition ordinance was presented, so. Okay, good.
No, yeah, there was no
No issues?
complaints or anything, or
Okay.
any attempts to change it, so.
All right, great. And that's all I have. And do you have anything, Kate, or?
Just that school deliberative is on Saturday at 10 o'clock at Campbell High School.
Okay. And Jay, just curious, are they gonna be doing another event for NRPC? Like, didn't they do something at La Bella Winery last
Yes,
year? Are they gonna be
yes.
doing that again, or is that
May 11th
May 11th? Just curious.
at LaBelle again.
Okay.
That venue seemed to work.
Do you know who the speakers are yet?
Not yet. That's on my list. Should jump on that, actually.
We'll see. We have a couple minutes. I have the January 17th, 2023 minutes from the last meeting and the January 21st, 2023 site walk minutes. So I guess we'll tackle the January 17th first. Did anyone have an opportunity to take a look at those? Have any questions?
I have a comment.
Okay.
There's an omission in section,
Okay.
page 1, section A, under roll call.
All right.
I was left out.
Ooh. Okay. Well, we'll put you back in there. Well, Matt will put you back in. All right. Anything else? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve as amended, if there's a motion.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Do I have any further discussion? All those in favor of approval of the January 17th, 2023 minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstained?
I'll abstain.
Okay, motion passes 501. And January 21st, 2023 site walk minutes.
So.
Did we have a quorum?
There are only two of us, they can't.
Oh, so there was no quorum?
They can't.
Okay, so I guess we'll just keep those on record then, because we didn't have a quorum, so.
But in terms of just the notes, at the end, it says that the board agreed that the current plans had significantly improved from the original plans. So that, first of all, that couldn't be because there was no board action, but
Right.
I certainly don't remember commenting that I thought that it had significantly improved. So
Okay,
I would ask that that be stricken.
okay. Matt, were you there? Did you take minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we can,
It was at the very end, the group got together, and I
Okay.
believe it was either Jay or was Mr. Karan
Mr. Karen, Lou Karen?
made the comment.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Good, thank you. And I assume the site walk went well, are you guys?
It was
Very
well worth it.
informative? Yeah.
Yeah, it
Good.
was it was well worth the time.
They usually are.
That was this one here?
That-
That was
No,
Olson?
this
is Olson.
Did I miss-
Yeah.
I showed up on the wrong day. It was rescheduled.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
rescheduled.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Must have missed them on that one.
Okay. Any other business this evening? Joan, is there
Okay.
anything else? Anything?
I wanted to ask Jim Petropoulos, which I didn't dare, why they couldn't move the building up and the gas tanks, and the gas dispensers behind. I'm sure Mobile wouldn't care for that idea, but it certainly would improve the look of the whole place. And move the building up to, in front of where the
Yeah.
gas tanks are, and then move the gas tanks in the back. You have enough room for them both now, so
Yeah.
just rearrange.
I thought I had asked that at the last meeting.
It's a very good,
I'll send them an email.
Yeah, one should.
I thought it was.
yeah, no, that's a good question.
Because that, then you would see the building, which is
Right.
And the
Right.
building
not a
looks
bad looking
great,
building.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
So I'm sure they want you to see the gas pumps.
It's gonna have to do with
Have
mobile,
that mobile site up there.
And the brand.
the brand. You're violating the brand.
At 888.
70% markup on chips.
Right.
Thank you.
That's where they make their money. It's all about the chips.
Spokesman.
Not spokesman. Rolled up the numbers.
Right.
I was hoping that we could schedule a workshop for the Albuquerque study
Yes.
that we got this week,
Okay.
just to go over that. And I'm not sure what our calendar looks like in March.
Since it's on the 21st.
Right.
I don't know
Right.
how well they'll.
I mean, depending on how that goes, we do have the 21st of March.
If Olson's is quick or not, you mean?
Olson's is the 21st of February.
Right.
Oh, I see. Yep, I think, the sooner the better, but I also know it's not, we probably don't wanna do it at the same time as a large site plan.
But it would be great if we
It
could
makes sense.
schedule, at least even if it's tentative, if we could tentatively say,
Okay.
that second meeting in March is a workshop.
I think that would be good.
Yeah, because there is a lot of content there, obviously.
Yes.
All right.
I have one other item.
Yeah.
Not rushing, but just if we could have an update maybe soon, just of where you are on the impact fees later. I know you're still
Yes,
working
we're
on it, but,
close.
just,
In
okay.
fact, that would be a great workshop item
Same.
also.
Same on that,
But
same
the-
meeting?
March
If we
21st?
could, yeah.
The
That
March
would be-
21st meeting?
Yeah, if we could do that, that would be great.
Okay.
Let's do that.
There's still a couple pieces of information that, we need, and we should be able to get them done.
Right.
And then, Jay, did you have a chance to check with the developer of the horse farm at Corning Road to see?
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have a chance to speak with him, and he said he doesn't have plans to, to not condominiumize the property.
I think it's still up in the air. He's coming in.
He's
for
considering it,
pre-construction meeting.
but he has not decided to do that.
Okay. But,
And if he does,
Then that's a different, if he does, then that becomes a different
read
question.
my mind.
It was approved as a condominium,
Yes.
and
Okay.
condominium is
Then
on
you
the
have to- You have
plan.
to come back to us to do
And
that.
I do think they would have to come back to us because a condominium is a form of subdivision.
Right.
And so so yes, he would have to come back if he made that change.
And you might not want to come back.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, that may not be the best plan.
He might come in Monday for a pre-construction meeting. but
Yeah, I think
don't-
there's one scheduled.
well,
Yeah, but there's a number of considerations as to whether you condo or you don't condo, so he's got different things he's got to weigh
Okay.
in his decision.
All right, I'd just say that, that project was approved on a close vote, and the fact that it was gonna be condos, certainly I can say as one member that voted for it, was a strong factor in my decision to approve it. I'm not sure I would feel the same way if they were gonna make those rental units.
Right.
So, for whatever that's worth.
Right. And of course, if it's a condo, you can still rent units in the condo.
Sure, yeah, but
Right.
it's whatever the condo docs
Right,
allow.
right.
Yes.
Right.
Although, if you know, if you have more than 50% rentals, then it creates problems for people who want to buy because they can't get mortgages.
They can't finance
Because the
it.
banks will finance
That's
those.
right.
If it's more than 50% that's not owner occupied.
But at this point, he has not made the decision.
Okay. Thank you for checking.
Absolutely.
And one, just to piggyback that, I think the wording that is in there right now is that he was going to keep some of them for rentals.
Usually all of them, right?
Yeah, he did say that,
Some.
yes. Right.
But we have no idea what some means, or not even an indication.
There wasn't a
7 or 8.
specific
I
number.
think you said 7 or 8.
But it's
7 or
not
8,
on,
okay.
that's
Okay.
not on the plan. That was a statement that was just made.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. Motion to adjourn?
It's not on the agenda. But you can always ask, certainly. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained. Motion passes 6-0-0. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.
You actually hit the gavel?
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen that. Nice.
I'll use